Unit 5, Lesson 4, Present Value. So we've looked at the accumulated amount of an investment with compound interest. Present value is the amount of money that needs to be invested today in order to grow to a given amount in the future. You can think of it as the principal. The formula for the present value is present value equals A bracket 1 plus I bracket exponent negative N. PV is the present value, the amount of money now. A is the amount of money in the future. I is the interest rate per compounding period. And N is the number of compounding periods. So if we look at an example, we're going to think of our present value, bracket 1 plus I to the negative N. Calculate the present value for each of the following. We need $2,000 in 5 years. So the amount in the future is $2,000. So that's our A value. Our I value is 8% compounded annually. Remember, you have to take your interest rate and divide it by how often you're compounding. So because we're compounding annually, that's only 1. So 0.08 divided by 1 is still 0.08. And remember to change your percent to a decimal. And N is the number of compounding periods, so 5 years once a year would be negative 5 times. And you get your calculator out and type that in your calculator, and you should get $1,361.17. Make sure as we're going through these that you're trying them on your own calculator, pausing, and making sure that you know how to use your calculator to do this. So we look at another example where we have a different compounding period. Present value, they need $1,500 in 8 years and they get 4% compounded quarterly. So the accumulated amount will be $1,500, 1 plus my interest rate as a decimal, and because it's compounded quarterly, I have to split that up over 4 times in the year. So I have to divide it by 4. And 8 years, 4 times each year. 8 times 4 would be 32. So I have negative 32. Don't forget the negative on the exponent when you're doing present value. When you're doing present value, sometimes this division of the interest works out nicely. And you can do that. And you can use your calculator and type it all in. And you end up with $1,000.90. $1,090.96. You will notice that the present value is always smaller than the accumulated amount. So if you do a question and you get an answer when you're doing present value that's bigger than what you started with, bigger than the A amount, then you've done something wrong. Go back and double check your numbers in your equation and double check your calculating. All right, if we need $5,500 in 3 years and we get 6% compounded semi-annually, that means the accumulated amount is $5,500. I have 1 plus my interest rate as a decimal, and I'm dividing it by 2 because it's twice a year, semi-annually. In 3 years, twice each year is 6. So I have negative 6, which means I've got 5,500. 1.03 to the negative 6. And I can type that in my calculator. And I get $4,606.16 right now to get $5,500 in 3 years with that interest rate. Last example. A loan of $10,000 is due 5 years from now. If interest is charged at 6.8% compounded monthly, what is the value of the loan today? So as soon as you see the value of the loan today, that means you're going to use the present value formula. One of the things you're going to have to learn is to pick out what formula to use. So you have to pay close attention to whether they're talking about the value now or the value in the future. The value today is the PV formula, present value. So our accumulated amount is $10,000. 1 plus my interest rate as a decimal, 0.68. I'm compounding monthly, so divided by 12, And 5 years times 12 times each year would be 60, so exponent of negative 60. Sometimes the interest rate does not divide nicely, so then you have to type it all in one step into your calculator, which means you can type in exactly as what it says on the board. 1,000 bracket 1 plus 0.068 divided by 12 bracket exponent key negative 60. And you should get $7,124.54. So present value is really just about understanding you're finding the value of the money now. Try those questions, and then we'll move on to some other finance topics.